Michiru was just a normal girl who liked basketball and hanging out with her best friend. But after a car accident and a weird blood transfusion, her life changed fast. Her friend turned into a beast and got taken away. And soon after, Michiru transformed into a tanuki beast herself. Scared and confused, she ran away to Anima City to find answers. However, before any of this, Michiru just tries to withdraw some money from an ATM when a bunch of angry thugs show up and cause trouble. They trash a poster that promotes peace between humans and beastmen to create coexistence. Wanting to avoid a scene, Michiru quickly hides in an air vent and waits for them to leave. As she escapes, she sees a screen showing news of rising tensions between humans and beastmen. Not wanting to get caught up in it, she speeds off toward the bus station. She makes it just in time to jump on the roof of a Route 66 bus leaving the city. The bus rolls along a coastal highway, and she finally catches her breath. She gazes at the sea after taking off her hood with a sigh of relief. Anima City is visible on the horizon, and it feels like things might finally calm down. Curious, she turns on her phone and sees an ad about Anima City on a social app Facebook. But just as she gets comfy, a gang of beastmen hunters on motorcycles appear and fire 2 shots at her. They hit their mark and send Michiru flying off the bus. Thankfully, her tail puffs up like an airbag and breaks her fall. The hunters are not done. They chase her, and Michiru has to dodge and run. However, things become worse and she trips down a hill. The gang catches up and surrounds her. Just when it looks like they have her, a flamboyant beastman named Mary appears, sassy as ever. She tells the hunters to back off because Michiru is under her protection for a client. They do not listen, so Mary and her 2 sidekicks transform into their beastman forms and humble them to oblivion. After the fight, Mary offers to escort Michiru to Anima City for a price. With no other choice, Michiru hands over some cash, and they set off by boat. As the boat nears Anima City, Michiru watches the skyline quietly, thinking about her life as a fugitive. The sun is setting, and the city lights flick on. They arrive just as the 10th anniversary festival of Anima City begins. Mayor Rose gives a speech on a giant screen, welcoming everyone. Michiru, still wary, wanders through the crowds. She bumps into a crying wolf beastman who gets emotional about how beastmen have waited 1,000 years for a place like this. He tells her to enjoy the festival and disappears just as mysteriously as he appears. Michiru is confused, but before she can think too much, Mary shows up again. While they are talking, a monkey suddenly arrives and snatches Michiru's wallet. She gives it chase and follows the pickpocket under the scaffolding where the mayor's screen is. There, she notices a shady-looking fox dressed like a repairman hurrying away with a briefcase. Frustrated and walletless, Michiru bumps into a pillar, then boom. An explosion rocks the area. The scaffolding starts to collapse. As the screen begins to fall, Michiru rushes to save an elderly goat directly in its path. Just as it is about to crush them both, the mysterious crying wolf reappears and pulls them to safety. Once the dust settles, the wolf angrily accuses Michiru of planting the bomb. However, she denies his claim and tells him she saw a suspicious beastman earlier. The wolf pauses, sniffs the air, and imagines how everything went before he came. He realizes she is telling the truth and apologizes. He then follows the scent trail of the real culprit into an alley. Michiru, still determined to find her stolen wallet, continues her chase, but another explosion stops her in her tracks. It comes from the alley where the wolf has entered. There, the fox terrorist is bragging about his scentless bomb trap. But his victory dance is cut short when the wolf grabs his leg from under the debris and slams him into a dumpster. The wolf stands up, clearly annoyed but totally fine, and demands answers. The fox tries to flee to a truck waiting nearby. Out burst 2 more beastmen, Tanaka the lion and Yamada the deer, armed to the teeth. As bullets fly, they call the fox Satu and reveal he is their leader. The wolf dodges the gunfire like a pro, staying calm and calculating. After sniffing the air again, he smells something strange: humans. The scent is all over them. That makes the wolf furious. He calls them traitors for working with humans who hate beastmen. The terrorists do not deny it. A job's a job. They shrug. Capitalism is always wild. The wolf is not having it. He declares that they are a disgrace to beastmen and attacks. Even when Tanaka and Yamada power up, the wolf holds his ground. He does not even need his claws. With just his fists, he beats them both to a pulp, even ripping off the deer's antlers and using them to blind the lion before smashing their heads together. Michiru arrives just in time to witness the end of the brawl. But Satu is not done. He gets up, grabs Michiru, and holds a knife to her neck. He then screams for the wolf to let him go or else. The wolf, completely unimpressed, teleports, well, not really, but it feels like it, behind Satu and pummels him mercilessly. Michiru shouts for him to stop, saying it is over, but the wolf refuses and continues his pummeling. The terrorists have destroyed the festival and hurt innocent beastmen, all under human orders. He is not about to forgive that. As he continues beating Satu, Michiru cries out for him to stop. Her tail suddenly glows and puffs up again, knocking the wolf away. Both are surprised. Then they argue. Michiru defends humans, even saying she is one herself. The wolf looks her up and down, clearly not convinced. With tension high and questions unanswered, Michiru and the wolf stand at odds, each with their own view of the world, humanity, and what it means to be a beastman. Michiru still insists on tactics. He takes one look at her tanuki form and understands the tale renders a different story. Their argument is cut short when the festival, Sato, Tanaka, and Yamada. They're all tied up like ancient mummies with duct tape, and the day is kind of saved. Detective Yuji Takaki sighs as soon as he sees the situation, realizing once again that Michiru protests again and claims she is 100% human just last year. She asks if there is any disease that could turn humans into beastmen. Gem and Shiru look at each other, shrug, and say it's impossible. After an awkward silence, Gem casually suggests that Michiru might need a psych evaluation. Understandably annoyed, Michiru snaps back at him. Before the situation gets even more awkward, Gem's wife Melissa steps in and scolds her husband for being insensitive. Melissa then politely introduces both herself and her husband and explains that Gem is the director of the Beastmen Life Association. They help new beastmen adjust to their wild new lives. Excited as a guy getting friend-zoned. Desperate to prove her point, Michiru remembers her student ID card and pulls a dramatic aha moment, only to realize her wallet has been stolen during the festival. Melissa gently breaks the news that stolen items rarely get returned in Anima City. Michiru tells her she can spend them, gratefully accepts. Just as she is settling in, a crow crashes into her face. This is Kuro, Shiru's crow. Shiru flatly calls the bird back like it is nothing, then tells Michiru to get some sleep since they have plans in the morning. Introduces him by name. Michiru pauses at his surname, Agami. The next morning, Shiru takes Michiru to the city council building, where a ridiculously long line of beastmen waits. He tells her that his job ends there and that he will not be sticking around. Then, as if on cue, a fight breaks out in line. Who is starting to realize Anima City isn't the friendly haven she had imagined. While standing in line, she notices a short guy in a hoodie sneaking around. She decides to tail him. Meanwhile, Shiru meets with Mayor Rose in her office. They talk about the recent bombing and both express disappointment that beastmen are resorting to terrorism for money. A hoodie guy who denies stealing her wallet. Right on cue, Mary pops in and distracts Michiru just out Mary had been part of the theft. Mary denies all the allegations on her name and reminds Michiru that she kids how to read and write and she'd get the wallet back. Michiru agrees and walks into the classroom. Grandma mentions that the kids have all been abandoned by men, and they will grow up with a lack of guidance. These kids have nowhere to go, and Rabbit Town is their only option. Michiru teaches the class, writing her name and a kid's name, Yuta, on the board. Soon, all the kids are scribbling on the board too. Outside, Shiru keeps watch. He spots a suspicious car pull up. Rude comment about the smell. Inside, unaware, Michiru keeps teaching while a child draws a silver wolf and talks about Jinru, the Beastman God. The idea of a shiny wolf coming to save the weak reminds Michiru of Shiru. She looks out the window and catches a glimpse of him. Back inside, the blue-suited guy, Kusakabe, is demanding money from Grandma. She says it isn't ready. Kusakabe gets aggressive until Giuliano Flip, the real boss, merchandise. Grandma is stunned. Shiru, the kids cry out to Jinru for help. Michiru is not waiting around. She puffs up her tail to rock the container, then stretches her limbs to reach into the crane controls and jerks it around. The crane collapses, and Michiru saves everyone using her fluffy powers. As they run, a cheetah lackey chokes Michiru. Just when she is about to pass out, Shiru arrives and takes the guy out with ease. Right before blacking out, Michiru thinks she saw Jinru again. The police arrive and thank Shiru, who says he is just doing the mayor's bidding. Michiru runs back, concerned about the kids. The officer assures her they'd be sent to a safe orphanage. Michiru scolds Grandma for selling children, but Grandma just smirks and says Michiru is too soft to be a beastman, as she is unfamiliar with the ways of surviving. Then, she tosses the wallet back and hops into the police van. Afterwards, Michiru confronts Shiru. She is upset he had not stepped in earlier. He explains he did not have enough proof to act. She does not accept that and begins to cry, afraid of what might have happened. Shiru promises he will protect all beastwomen and children. The next morning, Shiru sits alone at his desk, and he picks up Michiru's ID card and smells it, which triggers flashbacks of Michiru's past. He sees how she was injured in an accident and remembers a moment when she made a game-winning basketball shot. In the crowd, her best friend Nazuna cheered proudly. Later, Nazuna excitedly tells Michiru she passed an audition, and Michiru happily congratulates her. But suddenly, crowing on the rooftop. She sees a strange building shaped like a trident in the distance and asks about it. It turns out to be a medical center run by a big company called Sylvester. Before she can leave, Shiru stops her and locks her inside a storage room. He has now realized that Mit caused panic across the city. Suddenly, Mayor Rose arrives. She has important news. Someone sent a threat letter to Sylvester. Recently, a truck filled with Sylvester medicine exploded. The letter says that the money being spent on beastmen medical care should instead go towards saving humans. The police couldn't for help. Shiru agrees to investigate. Meanwhile, Michiru is eavesdropping on the conversation, and her ear unexpectedly transforms into a bunny ear, one of her many random animal traits. Worried about her own cure, Michiru panics. She realizes if the medical center is bombed, she may never get treatment. She screams for help, but no one hears her, so she transforms into a rooster and crows loudly to get attention. Finally, the mayor hears her, and Michiru is freed. She yells at Shiru for locking her up. The mayor smiles and tells Michiru that she has become asks her to keep her human identity a secret in exchange for dropping the hostage complaint. Michiru isn't happy but accepts the deal. She is given a smartphone to communicate, and Shiru receives the bomb fragments to track the scent. Looking out toward the Sylvesta building, Shiru tells Michiru about the company's background. Sylvesta Pharmaceutical Target. The operation begins. Yuji leads the bomb squad to disarm the bombs while Michiru sneaks into the medical center. In a parking area, she spots a man named Kusakabe and some staff members moving a mysterious device and talking about distracting the police. Michiru hides and listens, but her animal ears grow long again and give her away. Kusakabe notices her and starts chasing her. Another scientist recognizes Michiru from her past. Michiru tries to call Shiru, but he doesn't answer. The scientist becomes certain Michiru is the same girl they once knew. Just as things get dangerous, Shiru shows up in time to save Michiru. He learned about the situation from Kuro, his informant. Shiru finds out that the gang was helping some medical staff sneak in supplies. Suddenly, an explosion rocks the medical center tower. Shiru tells Michiru not to go. Explosion site, they meet Yuji and the medical center's chief, Mr. Yaba. Shiru smells nothing unusual, which is strange because bomb residue should leave a scent. Soon, the scientist who saw Michiru earlier tells Yaba that she's the girl from their past. Right then, Alan Sylvesta, the head of the company, calls Yaba to check in. Yaba tells him the damage is only to the research data section. Alan seems calm and tells them to clean it all up and hide what happened. Shiru, Michiru, and Yuji go to Yaba's office. Shiru explains that the only way to remove all traces of a bomb scent is to use a chemical, which likely came from this medical facility. Michiru points out that the gang from earlier was working with the hospital staff. Shiru suspects that Yabans have none. He becomes the main suspect. Yuji shows a document stating that Shiru's sense of smell is legally accepted as evidence in Anima City. They move to arrest Yaba, but he transforms into a rhinoceros beastman and resists. Suddenly, a chameleon beastman named Nomura appears and grabs Michiru. Yaba and Nomura escape with her as their hostage. Shiru catches up and fights Yaba, eventually smashing off his horn. On the rooftop, Nomura holds Michiru over the edge and demands a helicopter. The cops are helpless. Hiro tries to help but fails. Michiru manages to break free from Nomura, but she falls off the building. Shiru jumps and catches her in midair, saving her. Michiru thanks him, and he promises again to protect all beastmen, including her. Later, back at the residence, Mayor Rose explains everything. Yaba and Nomura confessed. They blew up the lab to hide the fact that they were stealing from the hospital. Now that the truth is out, Shiru assures Michiru that he won't lock her up again. Rose promises to look for a cure for Michiru and says she has a PhD in beastman genetics. Even though she works with Sylvesta, she wants to help. But Shiru still feels something is off. His nose tells him Sylvesta is hiding something big. In a hidden lab, Alan Sylvesta gives an order to shut down all research at that location. He says he'll now go to Anima City himself and see what's really happening. Michiru is still struggling with her transformation. She tries once again to turn back into her human form. But no matter how hard she concentrates, nothing happens. Frustrated, she sighs. Just then, Melissa walks in and interrupts her. She tells Michiru that the city council is calling her in for a meeting. At the city council building, Michiru is greeted by Mayor Rose and her staff. As a reward for helping out with the recent medical center bombing case, Michiru is officially registered as a citizen of Anima City. She's been given a Beastman registration credential and even an insurance card. It's a small but meaningful gesture, one that says she's truly part of the Beastman community now. She also returns the smartphone she was given, complaining that it doesn't connect to the regular human internet she's used to. Rose's assistant explains that's because of the Beastman territory law. The law censors anything related to human society so that beastmen living in Anima City won't be affected or influenced by it. Michiru gets visibly upset. She feels trapped and disconnected from her past life. To help explain the bigger picture, Rose shows her a video about the biological differences between beastmen and humans. According to the video, beastmen are a completely different species from humans, known as Homo beastus, while humans are Homo sapiens. Beastmen have something called the beast factor, which allows them to transform. This trait is inherited from their parents, meaning a person must be born from beastman parents to be a beastman. But Michiru's case is unique. Her parents are human. This means, scientifically speaking, she shouldn't be a beastman at all. Rose tells her that after examining Michiru's genetic data, she found no beast factor at all. Instead, she suspects that Michiru's transformation may be due to her cells dividing and reacting abnormally when she changes shape. It's unheard of, but this mystery only makes Michiru more determined to find out the truth about herself. Later, in the back alleys of Anima City, Michiru meets up with Marie. Marie, always looking to make a quick buck, offers Michiru a special SIM card that can bypass Anima City's internet firewall and connect to the human web. Michiru accepts it eagerly and cheekily tells Marie to put it on Shiru's tab. Meanwhile, on the other side of town, things are heating up. Giuliano Flip, a shady beastman crime boss, is interrogating a bound Kusakabe by the docks. Kusakabe claims he doesn't know who spread the stolen medical supplies from the lab. Flip blames him for being seen by Shiru and orders his goons to take care of him. Before Shiru can arrive to stop it, Kusakabe is dragged out to sea by a passing boat and is presumed dead. Back at her place, Michiru logs into her old human social media account, Facelook. It turns out it's her birthday. Her eyes widen when she notices a live video stream playing in the app. Even more surprising, the girl streaming is sitting just across from her on the pier. Michiru walks over to confront her, but the girl quickly knocks Michiru out. Michiru wakes up tied up inside a house. A large bodyguard questions how Michiru knows the girl. Michiru nervously replies that she only knows her through Facelook. Upon hearing that, the girl gets excited and transforms into a dolphin. Her name is Nina Flip, and she's thrilled to meet someone from the mainland. But Michiru is disappointed. She had hoped Nina was a human. Nina reveals that she's been live streaming from the house and loves human music and videos. She's happy just knowing humans are watching her online. When asked about her family, Nina bitterly mentions that her grandfather, or maybe her dad, was caught and eaten by humans, and she's never forgiven them. Her father, Flip, found out she was listening to human music and strictly forbade her from ever leaving the house. But Nina doesn't care. She still keeps a hidden box of human items, including a single wireless earbud. Seeing the earbud brings back memories for Michiru. She remembers when she and Nazuna would listen to their favorite song, Night Running, together. The memory hits hard. Nina asks if Michiru wants to return to the mainland, but Michiru sadly says she can't, not looking like this. Still, she admits she does want to go back someday. Right at that emotional moment, a spark happens, and suddenly, Michiru transforms back into her human form. She's stunned and overjoyed. The two girls excitedly head down to the beach as the sun sets. Nina tells Michiru that someone named Lisa from Facelook invited her to a party on the mainland. Michiru, still glowing from her transformation, agrees to go. Later that evening, Flip returns home with presents for Nina, but she's nowhere to be found. His bodyguard falls to his knees, groveling in fear. Night falls, and the girls arrive on the mainland via Marie's boat. The police bike passes by but doesn't suspect anything. They finally reach the party, a high-energy EDM dance bash where everyone's wearing animal-themed masks. As Night Running begins to play, Michiru is hit with more memories of Nazuna. Nina notices Michiru spacing out and checks in on her. Just then, Lisa walks up and welcomes Nina warmly. Nina's so happy she jumps, accidentally transforming into her dolphin form in front of everyone. The music stops, but surprisingly, Lisa doesn't freak out. In fact, she happily announces that Nina is the special guest for their Beastman-themed party. Meanwhile, Mayor Rose contacts Shiru and warns him that Flip will likely start a war if he finds out his daughter is partying in the human world. Shiru is already on his way to fix it. He meets Flip at the docks and promises to bring Nina back before midnight. Flip agrees but doesn't look very patient. Back at the party, Nina becomes the center of attention and everyone cheers for her near the pool. But something doesn't feel right to Michiru. She tells Nina she wants to go home. Nina takes it personally and thinks Michiru is jealous of her popularity. The two argue, and Michiru walks off feeling lost. Shiru calls her from Marie's boat and tells her to bring Nina back immediately before things get out of hand. Just then, Michiru hears splashing and screaming. She runs back to find Nina trapped in a water tank. Lisa, thinking dolphins need water to breathe, had sealed her inside without realizing she was suffocating. Michiru transforms into her beast form and uses her gorilla punch to shatter the tank. Water bursts out everywhere, and Nina gasps for air, safe at last. Michiru holds her and says firmly, "Let's go home." Nina, finally understanding, nods. They return to Anima City on Marie's boat. On the way, Nina quietly apologizes for her behavior. Shiru turns to Michiru and asks why she didn't just stay in the human world now that she could transform back. Michiru smiles and says she wants to stay in Anima City and learn more about beastmen. There's something special about this place, and she wants to understand it better. The tense mood lightens when Shiru grumbles about the tab Michiru left with Marie. Meanwhile, somewhere far away, Alan Silvesta is watching videos of Michiru and Shiru. He's amused. Their powers are far stronger than the average beastman, and that's something he clearly finds interesting. That night, Michiru lies in bed, scrolling through her Facebook feed. She sees a post from her mom, a cake with candles and a heartfelt happy birthday message. Michiru's finger hovers over the reply button. For a second, it looks like she'll respond. But then, she puts the phone down. Michiru is just chilling, shooting hoops like a pro when Shiru, TV remote in hand, casually points out that she is still in her beast form. She shrugs and says it is just more convenient. Curious about sports in Anima City, Michiru asks Melissa if basketball exists there. Melissa gives a yep and then immediately drags her to a baseball game instead. Michiru, clearly misled, sighs and watches from the stands as a game between the Pink Flamingos and Bears baseball team unfolds. Everyone is beastified, rules seem optional, and chaos is pretty much the norm. In true Anima City fashion, a wild ball flies her way. She catches it effortlessly and throws it back with her beast arm. Jackie, from the Bears, catches it and looks like he'd just witnessed a miracle. Miracle ball. He shouts like he'd seen the second coming of Babe Ruth. The Flamingos go on defense. One of them literally throws knives at a batter, yes, knives, knocking the poor guy out cold. The ref, probably half asleep or legally blind, just calls the runner out. Michiru is appalled and protests, but the Flamingos call her a snitch and ignore her. Up in the bleachers, Michiru meets Marie, who explains the situation. This isn't just baseball, it is a deadly gladiator match with home runs. Gambling is the real sport here, and the more blood, the better. No wonder the crowd is hyped. Soon enough, a Flamingo batter hits a line drive straight into a catcher's face. The guy is carted off, and with only 9 players left and no pitcher, Jackie asks Coach Dante for help. The coach is completely zoned out, so Jackie takes control and calls Michiru to pitch. Michiru walks up to the mound, beast-powered and annoyed. A Flamingo mocks her, and she claps back with a taunt of her own, then throws a heater that practically catches fire, strike after strike. When it is her turn to bat, she smashes the ball into the scoreboard like it owes her money. The Bears win. Meanwhile, Rose asks Shiru to check into shady baseball dealings. She mentions the Dodo team, who are wiped off the map thanks to this extreme sport. The Bears carry Michiru home to their sad excuse of a house. They beg her to join the team. She politely declines until Jackie whips out a heart-tugging monologue about poverty, broken dreams, and how baseball is all they had. With a sigh, Michiru agrees, but only if no more violence is allowed during matches. Next up, the Buffaloes, a strong team, but the Bears outrun them thanks to Michiru's animal agility. All is going well until the coach, now clearly sabotaging his own team, starts signaling ridiculous plays. Michiru has had enough, crushes the ball, grows cheetah legs mid-run, and sprints to home plate like Sonic on caffeine. The Bears win again, and the coach looks like someone just deleted his fantasy league. Meanwhile, at the back of a pizza shop called Pizzanimals, yes, really, the coach gets roughed up by a gang boss. Turns out, it's cause the Bears are winning too much. No one bets on winners. The boss wants them to lose to keep profits up. The coach reluctantly agrees to throw the next game. Outside, Shiru confronts him, but the coach says this is the only path for Beastmen to survive in Anima City. Next game, the Tigers. The coach benches Michiru and replaces her with a jittery, oven mitt-wearing Arai rascal, yes, the raccoon guy. The team objects, but the coach won't budge. Michiru promises to help from right field. Back at the office, Shiru touches a baseball and has a vision flashback of Coach Dante's life. Turns out, the guy used to play pro ball for the Odebo team on the mainland, but he faced constant discrimination. One day, he snapped, transformed mid-game, and lashed out in a rage. Back on the field, the Tigers send balls flying, but Michiru, using her beast powers, catches them mid-air, helping the team secure a win. The Bears celebrate, but Shiru isn't clapping. At home, he scolds Michiru for using her powers openly. If anyone finds out what she is, there'd be no cure and a lot more trouble. Michiru nods but admits playing baseball was the first time she'd actually felt joy since turning into a beastman. Well, no matter the location, he is there. Michiru hears the name Jinru and gets curious. Gem tells her that Jinru is a legendary silver wolf who appears during times of crisis to save beastmen. He even pulls out a children's book. Michiru follows him, and Melissa gives her a small safety charm, asking her to give it to Jinru if he ever shows up. Outside, Michiru finds Shiru and sees him eat the charm. She's shocked and tells him he'll get cursed, but Shiru doesn't care at all. She accuses him of being unfriendly and alone. Michiru proudly mentions her best friend Nazuna is flexing at people. Michiru then remembers a memory from a year ago, after her audition. Nazuna seems hesitant, but Michiru teases her about being scared. While still recovering from her accident and walking on crutches, Michiru climbs to the top of the pay it off. Michiru pushes a cart full of water purifiers into the slums. She sees Jackie, who proudly shows off the one he has already bought on a lifetime payment plan. But suddenly, a group of gangsters shows up, demanding money from Jackie. They tie him up to a pole and get ready to burn it down. Just then, a group of mysterious hooded people arrives and leader laughs, saying Jinru is just a fairy tale. The masked man then introduces someone named Death Rube, Who will show Jinru's light? The gangsters set the pole on fire like it's some sort of a video game. Deathroob removes her cloak and transforms into a glowing pink wolf. The gangsters, shocked, think she's Jinru, and a masked man give a speech praising Jinru. The people bow down, believing they are human form. Deathroob tells everyone to shine brightly together. Michiru is stunned as she finally realizes the real identity of Deathroob. Take her away. That night, the hooded followers bring Michiru to meet Nazuna. They hug, and Nazuna jokingly calls Michiru a tanuki, while Michiru insists she's a raccoon. The cult doesn't know she's a fox, it's a secret. Meanwhile, the mayor and Shiru talk about the cult. Shiru is suspicious of them, but the mayor says she plans to meet with their leader. Later, Michiru brings Nazuna to her place. Nazuna asks if Michiru saw her kidnapping a year ago. She then tells Michiru what happened after she was taken. A man named Boris Cliff saved her and trained her to control her transformation. He helped her become the leader of the cult while he stayed in the shadows. Michiru realizes the masked man from earlier must be Boris and says she's a bad person. She wants to be trusted. She then looks through Michiru's photo album and sees all the fun things Michiru has done over the past year. Michiru suggests they live together again and find a cure so they can return to their old lives. But Shiru refuses to let Nazuna stay at their place. He doesn't trust the cult or Nazuna. Michiru gets mad and storms off. She goes to the cult's area and tells them she wants to join. Boris accepts her and gives her a pendant. Later, Boris and Nazuna are alone. He tells her the mayor hasn't agreed to meet yet and asks welcome in Anima City, not even by the mayor. Michiru promises she can change that and help her meet the mayor. They snuggle under the blanket and before long, they finally fall asleep. The next day, Michiru takes Nazuna. Nazuna steps forward and speaks first. She introduces herself as Deathroob and asks for permanent residence in Anima City for the Silver Wolf Order. The mayor gets up, ready to walk away. But Nazuna reminds her that Anima City is supposed to be a safe place for all beastmen. The mayor warns her not to mess with the sacred name of Jinru. Nazuna then admits she's actually human and not Jinru. The mayor doesn't seem surprised. Nazuna accuses the mayor of using Jinru's legend to control people. She says even if Jinru is fake, beastmen need something to believe in. That's why she pretends to be Jinru, to give them hope. The mayor is intrigued and agrees to let the Silver Wolf Order stay. Afterward, Michiru and Nazuna walk through the park. Michiru feels used, saying Nazuna only wanted her for the mayor meeting. Nazuna teases her, saying Michiru is just bitter when things don't go her way. She admits she never needed Michiru's help because the mayor was already planning to meet her. She says she enjoys being worshipped as a guru, comparing it to being an idol. Michiru disagrees and says Nazuna has changed. Nazuna says Michiru is the one who hasn't changed. She always jumps to conclusions, like during the time she pushed Nazuna off her bike. She says Michiru only helps others to feel good about herself. Then, Nazuna coldly declares that she's not Nazuna anymore, she's Deathroob. Angry and hurt, Michiru rips off the cult pendant and says their friendship is over forever, and there's no turning back from here. High above the clouds, Pinga, a bird beastman in his albatross form, is flying peacefully. As Pinga enters Japanese airspace, 2 military aircraft intercept him and demand he land and complete the necessary paperwork for entry. Meanwhile, back on the ground, Michiru is still feeling upset after her interaction with Nazuna. As the rain begins to pour, she returns to her room to rest. Suddenly, something crashes through her roof and lands directly on her bed. It's Pinga, now in human form and completely exhausted. He immediately falls asleep. Hours later, after the rain stops, Pinga wakes up and realizes what happened. Michiru, Gem, and Melissa are already tending to the roof damage when they see him waking up. Once the repairs are finished, they all sit down to share a meal. Pinga is grateful for the warm food, mentioning that he usually spends most of his time in the sky. Gem and Melissa ask if he has come to Anima City as a refugee and offer to help him register. However, Pinga says he doesn't plan to stay for long. Michiru admires his freedom to fly anywhere, and Pinga asks if she would like to try flying. She agrees, and the two take to the skies together. During their flight, Michiru asks how he senses the wind so well. Pinga explains that this ability is part of being a bird beastman and is something their bodies naturally remember. He then shares that things weren't always this difficult. He once had complete freedom to fly. But due to the evolving rules surrounding human and beastman rights, travel has become complicated. He even mentions that some of his comrades were shot down just for flying through restricted airspace. Elsewhere, in the Anima City Town Hall, Mayor Rose and Shiru are discussing the Silver Wolf Order. The group has grown rapidly since Nazuna and Boris Cliff joined about 6 months ago. Alan Sylvester arrives and greets them. He tries to shake hands with Shiru, but Shiru refuses, saying he doesn't want to be contaminated by human scent. Alan raises concerns about the cult's presence in Anima City, arguing that their continued activity could harm efforts to modernize Beastman society and may provoke anti-Beastman sentiment. He also brings up the recent airspace violation by an unidentified bird beastman, leaving the final decision to Mayor Rose but making it clear that his support depends on what she chooses. After Alan leaves, Shiru and Mayor Rose continue their discussion. Shiru refers to Alan as a kid, but Rose reminds him not to underestimate Alan due to his age, especially since Sylvasta Pharmaceuticals financially supports Anima City. Their situation becomes more serious when Ikazaki reports that the trespassing bird beastman may be a terrorist, just as Alan suspected. As they talk, Shiru sees Pinga and Michiru flying overhead, and realizes Pinga is deliberately flying past the town hall, possibly scoping it out. Once the flight is over, Pinga lands and gives Michiru a stack of US dollar bills to cover the roof damage. Michiru asks for his name, which he shares before flying away. Later that evening, Shiru questions Michiru about Pinga's whereabouts. She tells him Pinga has already left, but Shiru believes Pinga may still be planning something and insists they need to find him before it's too late. He also admits that since Pinga stays in the sky, his scent is difficult to trace, one of Shiru's few limitations. Later that night, the Silver Wolf Order moves toward the medical center after Mayor Rose refuses to accept them in the city. Understanding that Alan likely influenced this decision, Nazuna, accompanied by Boris, speaks to their followers about building a paradise for beastmen. She transforms into her Jinru form and leads them in prayer. At the town hall, Mayor Rose is informed about the movement and orders Koichi to contact the police for support at the medical center. However, no one realizes that Pinga is diving from the sky straight toward them. Shiru, having kept watch, sees him in time and leaps to intercept. He grabs onto Pinga's talons mid-air as the two struggle. Pinga tries to shake him off by colliding with buildings and finally succeeds in kicking him away. Michiru witnesses the situation and attempts to help Shiru. But when she tries to catch him with her arm, the pole she's holding breaks, and she begins falling with him. Desperate to save them both, she wishes she could fly, and suddenly, her arms morph into wings L. She catches Shiru just in time and flies upward. Now airborne, they chase Pinga. Pinga is surprised by Michiru's transformation, but they quickly catch up. Michiru swings Shiru toward him and the collision sends both Pinga and Shiru crashing to the ground. Shiru grabs Pinga's bag, disarming him. When Shiru questions his motives, Pinga admits he's an ex-military fighter who once fought for beastman rights. But after equality was achieved, the very freedom he fought for was taken from him. Pinga then reveals his true purpose, to build graves for his fallen comrades. He gives Michiru their dog tags and asks her to deliver a message to Mayor Rose. She promises she will do it. Before leaving, Pinga warns that he's not the only bird beastman in the city. There's another named Meteor, a dangerous hitman who will kill for money. Shiru wonders if Meteor's target is the mayor, but Pinga says if that were true, he would already know. At the medical center, Alan decides to meet the gathered beastmen despite his advisor's warning. Suddenly, Meteor attacks, grabs Alan, and flies into the sky. Shiru and Michiru arrive too late to stop him. From the sky, Meteor drops Alan, but Nazuna, now with wings, saves him in front of the crowd. The dramatic rescue, paired with Boris' speech, inspires the Silver Wolf followers and boosts their belief that Jinru protects all, even humans. When Meteor prepares to attack again, Pinga intercepts and knocks him down. Nazuna lands with Alan and offers him a warm smile, receiving cheers from the crowd. Shiru has a flashback of a battlefield filled with dead beastmen struck by arrows. One survivor transforms into a monstrous beast, suggesting something tragic and violent from his past. Barbara Rose and Alan Sylvester are debating whether the cult should be allowed to stay in Anima City. Alan insists they have no choice, as the cult saved him and has strong public support, with over 5,000 attendees at their last event. After their meeting, a scientist tells Alan the beast factor is stable and they're close to achieving their goal. Alan then questions whether they should double-check Yaba's registration. The Silver Wolf Order moves into a building near the Beastman Co-Opus Gem and Melissa are surprised by how many followers they've attracted in just 3 days. Michiru takes a flight to relax but spots Nazuna walking alone and follows her. Michiru is surprised that they are now neighbors, and Nazuna says it was Boris' idea. Nazuna is also surprised that Michiru can fly, suspecting she kept it a secret. Michiru confronts her again about pretending to be the Silver Wolf, reminding her she's human. Nazuna insists she is no longer Nazuna, but now DS Louvre, then flies off. Michiru returns home and runs into Shiru, who asks where she's been. She tells him she saw Nazuna. Shiru then invites her to the police station to investigate something related to the captured Falcon Beastmen. She agrees to partake this quest. At the station, Boris visits Yaba in his cell, intending to teach him using the name of Jinru. He warns Yaba that Alan wouldn't like the truth getting out, which frightens him. Shiru and Michiru arrive just after Boris leaves. Yaba starts to feel pain and begins transforming uncontrollably. He becomes a massive, berserk beast and breaks out of his cell, terrifying everyone. The police try to stop him with bullets, but they have no effect. Shiru tries to stop Yaba with his strength but is shocked at how powerful the Berserk transformation is. Even Shiru's regeneration ability struggles to keep up. Michiru tries to help, saying she wants to support him. She attempts to fly Yaba away, but he's too heavy. Shiru encourages her to keep trying, and after pushing herself, she's finally able to lift Yaba with Shiru's help. They fly him to an abandoned shipping port. They crash through the roof of one of the dock buildings. Shiru chains Yaba, but he transforms again into an even larger beast and impales Shiru with his horn. Despite being severely injured, Shiru insists on continuing the fight. Yaba grows a second pair of arms and violently slams Shiru into the ground. Michiru, unable to watch any longer, transforms her arms into strong gorilla limbs and blocks Yaba's next attack. She tries to fight back, but is completely overpowered. Yaba starts choking Michiru, and Shiru, with no other option, removes his collar and transforms into Jinru. A powerful blue light surges from him, and he rescues Michiru in his jaws. He tells her to stay back as he prepares for battle. Yaba grows horns and charges, but Jinru easily defeats him in one strike. Barbara Rose and her guards arrive and take Shiru away. Shiru tells her that Michiru now knows his secret identity. Back home, Rose says Shiru's wounds will heal soon. Michiru asks who Shiru really is, and Rose confirms that Shiru is Jinru. Michiru admits she knows little about him and wants to understand him more. On the rooftop, Rose explains Jinru's origin. 1,000 years ago in Eastern Europe, a beastman-only city called Nervasil was attacked by humans, who massacred all its residents, including Shiru. His body was revived by the blood and souls of 2,000 beastmen, turning him into Jinru, immortal and powerful. He tried to avenge them by searching for the general responsible, killing many humans, but never found him. Ultimately, he vows to protect the beastmen as long as he is alive. Rose and Shiru met during World War II when she was captured and experimented on in a camp. Jinru freed her, killing everyone responsible. Since then, Shiru has avoided using Jinru's powers. Rose asks Michiru not to reveal this story, and Michiru agrees, though she still wants to tell someone that Jinru is real. Shiru arrives, saying it's fine since she would do it anyway. Michiru leaves to tell Nazuna. Rose visits the medical center to study Yaba's condition. Alan, also there, reminds others that Rose was the first Beastman doctor. Rose is shocked by how Yaba's beast factor changed. Alan quietly says this is exactly why he's involved, for the love of the game. Michiru goes to visit Nazuna to convince her to stop pretending to be Jinru and acting like a guru, telling her the real Jinru exists. But Nazuna brushes it off and defends her actions. She calls herself DS Luv, a symbol of hope for nearly 5,000 sorrowful beastmen followers. The next day, Michiru is still worried about Nazuna when Shiru visits her. She checks on him, but he instead focuses on her well-being and gives her a cookie, saying hunger can bring someone down. He tells her she needs to experience things firsthand to find her own answers. Michiru jokes that his 1,000-year-old wisdom is too deep. Shiru invites her to investigate Yaba's case, but she declines, saying she has other plans. He warns her to stay away from the cult and medical center, but she scoffs and leaves. Michiru goes to the park, denounces her friendship with Nazuna, and throws a stone in the same direction she once tossed the Silver Wolf Order charm. It lands in the slums, so she heads there to find the charm. While searching in a waterway, Jackie finds her. Jackie is selling mineral-ish water by purifying dirty water with a device she bought. She drinks it herself to prove it's safe, and then transforms in excitement. Michiru is grossed out, but when Jackie pulls the filter out, she finds her lost charm stuck to it. Jackie excitedly talks about her love for Jinru and how it changed her life. Michiru is surprised that even Jackie has faith in Jinru. Jackie runs off after spotting a 10-yen coin, leaving Michiru amused. Michiru, satisfied with retrieving the charm, wears it and leaves. Meanwhile, at the prison, Shiru and Inspector Takaki investigate Yaba's incident. Takaki reveals that Yaba was fine until cult leader Boris visited him, saying something about teaching sinners about God. The prison is in ruins, and many dangerous inmates have escaped. Shiru wants to examine Yaba's body, but learns it's been taken by the medical center, which frustrates him since autopsies should be police work. Takaki shrugs it off as orders from above. Later, Michiru sees Nazuna being taken into a suspicious car and recognizes the men as the same people who abducted her when they were in school. She follows the car using her best powers and sees it entering the medical center. To sneak inside, she shapeshifts into a chameleon. Inside, she tracks Nazuna by scent and finds her strapped into a weird machine. Fearing the worst, Michiru breaks into the room. The guards rush in, but Michiru fights them off despite being electrocuted while trying to protect Nazuna. Just as she's captured, Alan Silvesta enters and orders the guards to release her. Michiru angrily questions Alan's intentions. Nazuna, now freed, scolds Michiru for acting recklessly. Alan praises Michiru for being a true friend and introduces himself formally. Michiru, still confused, learns that Nazuna volunteered for the MRI scan and wasn't kidnapped. Alan decides to explain everything to Michiru to avoid future misunderstandings. Alan explains that both Michiru and Nazuna became beastmen due to a medical accident at the medical center. A reagent containing beast factor, extracted from a beastman, was accidentally mixed up and administered to them after an earlier accident. Yaba discovered the mistake and kidnapped Nazuna after realizing her transformation, but only noticed Michiru later when she arrived in Anima City. The medical center then orchestrated a bombing to destroy the evidence of this mix-up, as the research was top secret. Alan accepts full responsibility for the incident and promises that a cure is being developed, which will return them to normal humans. Nazuna supports Alan's story and adds that she was initially shocked too but agreed to help him because of his sincerity and his promise to cure her. Her role is to give hope to beastmen by showing them someone who can freely transform, which helps maintain social stability. Michiru asks if the whole Jinru act is a lie, and Nazuna admits it's a staged performance that brings peace to Anima City. Michiru sarcastically praises her for keeping secrets even from her. Nazuna says only she and Boris know the full truth, and Michiru, being an outsider, couldn't be told. He again promises they'll become human again and asks Michiru to avoid interfering with their plans. Both girls are then sent home in the same car, lost in thought. Back in her room, Michiru dries off from the rain. Shiru reminds her that he warned her not to go to the medical center. Michiru weakly explains everything Alan said and how they promised to make her human again. Shiru warns her not to blindly trust them, saying Alan is manipulating her. Michiru accuses him of hating all humans. Shiru then asks if she'll return to the human world if cured. Michiru replies that she loves Anima City but still wants to go home. Meanwhile, as rain falls, Boris tries to close Nazuna's window, but she asks him to leave it open. The next day, Shiru visits Mayor Rose to ask about Yaba's autopsy results. In Anima City, Marie deals with a horse beastman client over a cigar set order that turns out to be mostly carrots. She reminds him that she showed him a photo earlier, and he approved it, so it's not fraud. But the horse beastman gets furious and goes on a destructive rampage. Marie flees and bumps into Shiru and Michiru, telling them the client suddenly lost it. Shiru and Michiru realize he's going through the same berserk condition as Yaba from before. The news quickly reaches Mayor Rose and her assistant Ishizaki. As they prepare to act, Alan Sylvester calls the mayor, but she ignores the call, saying they'll talk later. Meanwhile, at the wharf, Shiru transforms into his Jinru form and carefully subdues the rampaging beastman without killing him. But things take a turn when strange robots come out of the water and start firing real bullets at Michiru. Shiru protects her and takes the hits. Then the machines switch to tranquilizer guns, sedate the rampaging beastman, and carry him away, heading toward the medical center. Shiru and Michiru follow the scent trail to investigate. At the medical center's entrance, Shiru tells Michiru to stay out since it might get dangerous. But Michiru insists on coming. She's sneaked in before and wants to know the truth. Shiru, knowing he can't change her mind, sighs and agrees. They're caught by guards, but Alan tells them not to use violence and invites them in. On the way inside, they notice there is only human staff in what is supposed to be a beastman-run facility. Alan greets them and admits the rampaging beastman is being treated there. The machines used are called Angel machines, designed to protect beastmen by neutralizing threats. Shiru is furious that the beastman is being treated like a test subject. Alan explains the rampages are part of a larger issue. He claims they need samples from rampaging beastmen to prevent Anima City from ending up like Nervasil, a city that was destroyed. Shiru is shocked Alan knows about Nervasil. Alan reveals that the general who led the Nervasil slaughter was Raymond Sylvester, his ancestor. Shiru nearly loses control upon hearing the name, but Alan calms him. Alan explains that beastmen and Nervasil are already killing each other before humans arrive. His theory, beastmen naturally clash due to territorial instincts. The rising population increases their stress, and if a beastman is mentally shocked in that state, it triggers violent instincts, what Alan calls Nervasil syndrome. Alan adds that their studies show aggression levels in beastmen are increasing with the city's growing population. His plan is to create a vaccine to suppress the beast factor, stopping beastmen from transforming and thus preventing the syndrome. Shiru is disgusted by this. He sees it as humans trying to erase beastmen's identity. He attacks Alan but is tranquilized and subdued by drones. Shiru shouts that humans shouldn't decide what beastmen should become and crashes through the glass to escape. But it's too late, the experiment ends, and the horse beastman is turned back into a human. Shiru begins destroying the lab in fury. Michiru tries to stop him. He yells that she doesn't understand because she's human. Michiru yells back that he never sees the good in humans and always holds a grudge. Shiru almost goes berserk but calms down after seeing his reflection in her eyes. The police arrive, and Yuji, their leader, is shocked at Shiru. He asks Shiru to surrender, but Shiru escapes through another glass window. The police chase him while Alan thanks Michiru for protecting the center and asks her to help with Nazuna's upcoming event. which is supposedly to calm the city's beastmen. Later, Shiru meets Ishizaki, who says Mayor Rose wants to speak to him. Meanwhile, Michiru returns home to find Gem and Melissa worried about Shiru. She can't say where he is. In her room, she finds Nazuna waiting. They talk about what happened. Nazuna says being human or beastman doesn't matter, being alive is what counts. She tells Michiru that Alan gave her a task, hold a live concert to calm beastmen. She wants Michiru to help her as it's her first live. Michiru asks about nervous ill syndrome. Nazuna knows but was told not to tell anyone. Despite the concerns, Michiru becomes excited that Nazuna might become a real idol. Melissa walks in and sees Nazuna in her wolf form. Thinking Jinru is in the room, Nazuna covers it up well and leaves. That night, on a ship, Shiru, Ishizaki, and Mayor Rose meet. She scolds Shiru for his reckless actions. Shiru asks if she knew about Alan's plan. She says yes. She doesn't like it either but agrees it might save lives. She plans to disperse beastmen across Japan to reduce population density. If an outbreak happens before then, she may have no choice but to use the vaccine. Shiru can't believe she's siding with Alan, but Rose says her duty as mayor comes first. They part ways, on different sides of the issue. Walking alone at the wharf, Shiru is offered a ride by a car driver. He refuses at first, but then Flip pops out, asking about Sylvester and the shady state of the city. Shiru agrees to talk and joins them. The next day, Mayor Rose and Ishizaki go to see Prime Minister Shiramizu to request help with relocating beastmen. But it turns out Shiramizu already knows about nervous ill syndrome. Instead of helping, he has Rose detained and locked away from the city. Alan orchestrated this, ensuring no one will interfere with his plan moving forward. Michiru visits Nazuna in the morning at her building. On entering, she notices a wanted poster with Shiru's photo, size, and continues. Passing a room, Jackie from the Bears basketball team calls her over. Jackie and the team are enjoying bread, praising the crust, which baffles Michiru since she's only ever eaten crust before. Nazuna walks by, asks if Jackie is Michiru's friend, and comments flatly on how easily Michiru makes friends. Jackie and the team greet Nazuna cheerfully, thanking her for the food. Meanwhile, Marie, disguised as a cult acolyte, spies on them from an air duct. Michiru and Nazuna move to Nazuna's room, where Michiru questions the safety of so many beastmen gathering for the upcoming live event. Nazuna quotes Alan, saying, "Being positive and feeling festive is very important." Michiru recalls the festival she attended when she first arrived in Anima City. Nazuna shows Michiru the event's song list, asking her opinion. Michiru protests Nazuna's song choice, calling it dumb to sing and disappointed that night running wasn't included. They sing Night Running together, and Nazuna grumbles that she can't always choose what Michiru likes. Michiru then notices the event includes a segment where Nazuna will confess that she is actually human. Surprised, Michiru questions whether it's okay to reveal such a secret. But Nazuna explains Alan's belief that this confession is necessary to relieve the beastman's stress once the cure is developed. Michiru feels conflicted but says nothing. Far from Anima City, Mayor Rose is imprisoned at Minister Shiramizu's place. After much thought, she attempts to escape from the rooftop, but is caught by guards. Gunfire ensues, but Ishizaki arrives, fights off the guards, and helps her escape. Knowing the city border is heavily guarded, Mayor Rose hides and waits until night. Meanwhile, at the wharf, Shiru and Flip plan their move. Flip boasts of having 1,000 freighters ready, with 5,000 large cruisers arriving soon to transport cult members. Shiru apologizes for the disruption, but Flip worries about Anima City's fate as well. Marie then appears, surprised at Shiru and Flip working together, and informs Shiru the Silver Wolf Order is hunting him. Nazuna prepares to leave for the live event with Michiru. Michiru questions the necessity of the confession again. Nazuna insists it's to prevent nervous ill syndrome from overwhelming the beastmen. Michiru doubts, warning Shiru would be furious if he knew. At the medical center, machines produce vaccine-loaded armaments, with Alan overseeing them. That evening at the live event, Michiru notices the huge beastman crowd, larger than the festival she once attended. Suddenly, a massive mobile skeletal Jinru statue appears, with Gem and Melissa controlling it from inside. Michiru asks if they made the statue, and they explain the city came together to build it as thanks to Jinru-sama for protecting them over 1,000 years. Michiru then notices Shiru in the crowd, but he quickly disappears. She follows him, leaving Gem and Melissa puzzled. Meanwhile, searches for Shiru but the crowd overwhelms her. She closes her eyes, focuses her sense of smell, and shapeshifts into a wolf beastman to track Shiru. She finds him arming himself with a handgun backstage. Boris reminds Nazuna it's almost time for the lost beastman awaiting her. Nazuna steals herself and leaves. Shiru watches, doubting his next move, before seeing Nazuna enter the stage. Michiru rams him, causing his gun to fly away, and missing his chance to stop Nazuna. Shocked, Michiru realizes Shiru intends to kill Nazuna. The live concert begins with Nazuna singing. Both ignore the show as they face off. Michiru apologizes for not understanding Shiru's pain. She says she knows how it feels to fear becoming someone else. But Shiru's attempt to kill Nazuna, her dear friend, confuses her. Shiru apologizes and says he doesn't want to hurt Nazuna but must stop her confession. He explains that the confession would trigger nervous ill syndrome, a psychological disorder caused by the shock of learning Jinru. Their hope is actually human. Beastman's deep emotions and stubbornness would make the revelation devastating. Alan tells Nazuna the opposite to induce the confession, but Shiru suspects Alan has ulterior motives. Michiru asks if she can convince Nazuna not to confess. Shiru says yes, giving her the plan details. Nazuna will fly above the audience and land on the opposite side of the stage before confessing. Michiru flies there to intercept but is spotted by Boris. Shiru is blocked by Inspector Takaki, who is guarding on Alan's orders. Shiru pleads to be released, saying he only wants to protect the city, but Takaki refuses. Michiru arrives before Nazuna at the spot, but Nazuna suddenly changes course, flying back to the stage on Boris's orders. Nazuna greets the crowd casually, engaging them in conversation. Michiru tries to find another way to stop her and approaches Nazuna with the Jinru statue. Just as Nazuna nears the confession, Michiru reveals herself and begs Nazuna not to confess, asking her to trust her. Nazuna insists on continuing but instead says she's grateful for the Jinru statue the crowd made. Michiru breathes a sigh of relief. Outside, Shiru is also thankful Michiru stopped the confession. Suddenly, Angel machines, large anti-beastmen weapons, invade the area. Shiru follows them but is stopped by Takaki. The machines fire, causing confusion. Boris accuses Nazuna of being human, not Jinru, claiming she was tricked by Sylvasta Pharmaceuticals drugs to become a beastman. He stirs up hatred, saying humans want to destroy beastmen by faking Jinru and using weapons against them. His provocation triggers nervous ill syndrome symptoms in many beastmen, leading to chaos. Rampaging beastmen attack each other and nearly Nazuna, but Michiru saves her. Alan watches from the medical center, calling the chaos his success. Flip, the family, and Shiru fight the Angel machines to protect calm beastmen. Despite their efforts, more machines arrive. Nazuna panics when she sees Michiru bitten. Feral Shiru suddenly releases Michiru, who remains unconscious. Nazuna rushes to her side as Flip and the family watch. Shiru's corrupted form fades, and he regains consciousness, only to see Michiru gravely wounded. Overwhelmed with guilt, Shiru howls in sorrow. Miraculously, Michiru's wound begins to heal, and she wakes up just in time to see Shiru's howl. She pulls out her phone real quick, recording. Nazuna and Shiru, surprised by her recovery, barely hear her praise. Nazuna breaks into tears and hugs Michiru, but their conversation is interrupted by Mayor Rose's call from the sky. She's safe with Pinga and signals for them to head to City Hall. Meanwhile, Minister Shiramizu contacts Alan, ordering Anima City into lockdown to protect citizens. At City Hall, Mayor Rose treats Michiru's wound and confirms Shiru's return to normal after biting Michiru. Michiru confirms this. Nazuna is still terrified, but Michiru comforts her. Mayor Rose tests Michiru's blood alongside Yaba's and discovers Michiru's unique beast factor can neutralize the nervous ill syndrome by rewriting other beast factors. This breakthrough offers hope. Rose proposes creating a serum but laments the government's withdrawal of support, so they must act alone. They plan to head to the medical center, but Nazuna refuses, blaming herself for the chaos. She vows to fix things herself and insists on returning to the city. Pinga offers to accompany her. Thus, the group splits, Michiru, Shiru, and Mayor Rose to the medical center, Flip to protect the city, Nazuna and Pinga to rescue rampaging beastmen. Meanwhile, Nazuna flies above the city, searching for unaffected beastmen. She finds a toddler beastman alone and comforts him, assuring him the serum will help his parents. Suddenly, Boris appears and calls Nazuna by her alternate name, DS Louvre, apologizing for following Alan's orders. Now free, he tries to take her away, but Nazuna rejects him fiercely, insisting on her own name. Inside the medical center, Shiru and Michiru reach the core, where countless drones, armed with the Beast Factor Termination vaccine, await deployment. Alan, controlling the operation from the tower, explains his plan to use the drones to eliminate rampaging beastmen. Shiru blames Alan for triggering the crisis, but Alan says it's all part of a bigger plan: reveal nervous ill syndrome, justify the vaccine's use, and control the world by making beastmen human forcibly. Michiru counters, revealing her and Nazuna's blood can cure the syndrome without removing the beast factor. Shiru testifies to this, citing his return to normal. Alan, caught off guard, dismisses their claims and orders the drone launch. Shiru transforms into Jinru to destroy the drones but is blocked by Angel machines. Michiru tries to destroy Alan's control system but is thrown aside. Alan mocks Michiru's gorilla arms, suggesting she return to normal human life. Michiru defiantly rejects this, affirming everyone's right to choose. Alan lunges at her with drones ready to fire, but Shiru rescues her. Alan is surprised Shiru is alive, but Shiru says the people inside him tell him not to give up. Both transform into their wolf god forms and prepare to battle. Alan reveals himself as a beastman, shocking Shiru, and boasts of his purebred Sylvester bloodline. Alan claims immortality and dominance are exclusive to his purebred line, mocking hybrids like Shiru. The two clash fiercely. Shiru decapitates Alan, but Alan's heads reattach, with his immortality intact. Alan warns Shiru of his limits, but Shiru matches his divine howl power, surprising Alan. Shiru's speed overwhelms Alan, landing a crushing blow and threatening him with a point-blank divine howl blast. Alan begins showing symptoms of nervous ill syndrome, stunned that a purebred could be affected. Meanwhile, Michiru hunts drones through the city. She destroys one with her umbrella but is hit by rampaging beastmen and knocked away. Her phone plays Shiru's recorded howl, which calms the fighting beastmen. Michiru flies off to stop remaining drones. Nazuna escapes Boris thanks to Marie and Jackie, but they run into more rampaging beastmen and are surrounded. Michiru, exhausted and wounded, is saved by Pinga. She explains the drone's dangerous vaccines and throws her phone to Nazuna, who uses Shiru's howl to stop rampaging beastmen. Together, Michiru and Nazuna destroy a drone, calming the beastmen. They realize Shiru's howl instinctively pacifies beastmen and plan to broadcast it citywide. Marie, Nazuna, Michiru, and Jackie split tasks. Jackie's team turns on TVs and cranks volume, while the others head to the broadcast system. Elsewhere, Flip and Inspector Nakamori prepare to fight Angel machines. Despite their clash over illegal weapons, they team up as Pinga warns of the drone threat. At Town Square, Michiru, Nazuna, and Marie restart the broadcast system but are confronted by Alan. He declares Anima City lost, threatening that everyone will be killed or turned human before the serum is ready. Michiru confronts Alan, declaring her right and others' rights to choose who they want to be. Alan mocks her, and then lunges with drones firing. Shiru rescues Michiru again, and the final battle begins with Shiru and Alan transforming and clashing once more. That's it for today, my fellow men of culture. Like and subscribe to the channel for more plot-filled recaps.